It is 9:30. We will call the salary board to order. And if we could begin with a roll call, please.
Commissioner Nieder,
Here.
Commissioner Fauci, I'm here. Commissioner Eichelberger.
He will possibly be here. I don't know.
Controller Wickham.
Sure.
We will open the floor up to public comment related to salary board items at this time. We will do public comment, I believe, later for some other items that folks are in attendance for. Is there any public comment online for the salary board at this time? Okay. We'll move on into approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 6th.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We will move on to the approval of the salary board.
I'll make a motion to approve the salary board actions.
I'll second.
It's approved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any other business to come before the salary board at this time?
Make a motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned from salary board. We will now go into the Board of Commissioners meeting and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will call the Board of Commissioners meeting to order and begin with a roll call, please.
Commissioner Nieder,
Here.
Commissioner Fauci, I'm here. Commissioner Eichelberger.
Now we will open the floor up to public comment on non-agenda items. Is there anyone online first that wanted to make public comment? If do so, please raise your hand.
I see an R. Palmer online as an attendee has not indicated,
Okay.
has not shown here.
Okay. Is there any member of the audience that would like to make public comment at this time? Yes, sir. Please come on up, announce your name.
Great. I want to first thank you guys for giving us the opportunity of myself and those to follow. I am David Orlenker II. I'm the Silver Spring Township Board of Supervisor, Chair of the Cumberland County Solid Waste Authority. I'm the Chair of the Cumberland County Yard Waste Committee Steering Committee's Chairman. And I'd first like to thank you for the service that you provide to the county. It's a thankless job. I deal with it on our board as well. So I don't want you to feel like this is directed in a negative way. We are going to express our concerns on the termination of the yard waste program pertaining to the equipment use. Commissioner Nieder and Commissioner Eichelberger was at that solid waste meeting. He was online. Commissioner Nieder was in person. There was concerns expressed by the Solid Waste Authority. We understand that there was, we were told there was an issue with insurance. We have multiple people have checked. We believe there is a market that we can get insurance for the county and the municipalities. So I want to go into saying I've been involved in this program since the inception in 1994. The equipment was purchased through pretty much the direction of the director, which was Tom Imfong, who was one person at my young age working in municipal government that I looked up to. He was visionary. He had drive. He was a dedicated employee to the county. And I know a lot of the surrounding counties admire the program and say it's a model program. They don't even know if they can make it work. So with that, I always took pride being in that program. knowing that it was a program that we were the only municipality, I think, in the state to offer it, and it excelled. Tom made it excel. Tom retired. It was taken over by Justin Miller. Justin, he brought a different set of eyes and ears to it. He refined it. I thought we had a real good product there. Had been successful, not a lot of issues historically. Relatively safe program. It provides an important service. It eliminates a burden off of the municipalities that are mandated to provide that service. The service, when it started, I think was like maybe 6 municipalities that were mandated at the time that elected to provide that service through the assistance of the county's program. I think we're over a dozen now total, or at a dozen municipalities that utilize it. We also have some that piggyback on with other municipalities because they don't have facilities to provide the service, for the site to process it. I believe that, together with the municipalities, we have a willingness to work with the county to make sure the county has new funds that are put out to provide this service. If it was to continue, I think we have a willingness to work in conjunction with the county to keep the program running and to make sure that we minimize any, I guess you would call it, there was the concern of the liability by Commissioner Nieder at the meeting. We totally understand it is a process that's provided that there is some liability. We will not take that away, but in life in general, there's a liability in almost everything you do, walking down the street, anything. So we're not minimizing that at all. We're saying we will do our part to make sure financially the county doesn't have to outlay funds to continue paying for insurance. The municipalities would be willing to provide their own insurance policy as well. And we could do that through one carrier to eliminate having dual carriers and potential problems between them two. We could do it through one carrier. I think that there's other things that can be refined. I think one thing that we just tossed around to the county employees in the department was even some sort of administrative fee. I know Justin Miller is pulled like 4 different directions with his job. He does a great job for the amount of time that he has to work with. I've always admired Justin when he had taken over from Tom. I think that he's in dire need of an assistant. That not only that would be a succession plan for the day that Justin decides that he wants to retire from the county. I think there's enough municipalities that we could fund the salary of that person. That way, if the attendance off at the facility, he can concentrate on duties that really the directors should do for the programs that the county offers outside what we provide. I know there's been discussion through the solid waste board. We'd asked, and the commissioners have graciously looked at potentially building a building. I think that staffing that would be supplied by that would help the county get to the next level. The county's progressive. I know that you had the distinction of being the fastest growing county in the state. We've dealt with that. I'm in Silver Spring for years. We were either 1 or 2 in the state for growth, and everybody always used to say to me, they thought that was a great thing, and I said it's an omen. And I know you guys are dealing with it financially because like you're playing catch up constantly. It's not an easy thing. I applaud, it's feeding the 5,000 with a loaf of bread. We deal with it on a municipal level. So like by no means are we here, to chastise or anything. We want to be a partner in this. We want to continue something that is a role model program for everybody in this state. I've talked to other solid waste
Mr. Laker, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up if you could, please. We do have a 5-minute typically, but I don't know if you're speaking for everyone in the group.
No, there's
if
gonna
you
be-
if you are not, then we'll need to make sure we have time.
All right. What I'll do is I'll defer them to the next person. That way we don't, by no means do I want to drag this on. I know you guys have a lot going on. So with that, I just appreciate that, an open mind and a willingness to work with the municipalities. I think all 12, there's probably the other ones as well that are tied in with the other sites that will agree with what's being said today. So with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Linker. Mr. Silcox.
Good morning, Chairman Leader, Vice Chair Koshi, and Secretary Eichelberger, staff. Thanks for having us. I'm Nate Silcox, President of Hampton Township Board of Commissioners. I'm joined by Jeremy Miller, our Director of Public Works. I'm pleased to be joined, as was earlier, Dave Lanker. I think he did a great job. Silver Spring Township, also joined by George Tyson from East Pennsboro Township. We've got representatives here as well from Middlesex, North Middleton, and Shippensburg. On behalf of our Hampton Township Board of Commissioners and staff, I'm here to convey our significant concerns regarding the potential termination of the Cumberland County Waste Processing Equipment Program. It is our understanding that after more than 30 years of extremely successful intergovernmental cooperation and operation, the program is likely to be ended here. Our initial understanding was that the program was to be terminated due to the county's inability to obtain insurance. After several meetings with the county staff and commissioners, the previously cited reasons for ending the program are no longer clear. If insurance is truly the issue, we believe that there are alternatives to address the county's concern. Hampton Township, East Pennsboro, Silver Spring, and others have contacted their insurance providers and have been informed that insurance coverage and protection can be provided to both the municipalities and to the county. If concerns other than insurance coverage are the driving force for the program, we ask that the county consider the following prior to making the final decision. The program has been safely operating for more than 30 years. 12 municipalities serving more than 150,000 Cumberland County residents have worked cooperatively and have come to rely on the program to meet their Act 101 requirements and serve their communities. Hampton Township alone has had more than 9,000 visitors to its yard waste facility in 2023, and through the program has removed more than 15,000 cubic yards of material from the waste stream. Ending the program with only a 30-day notice will put the participating municipalities at risk of not meeting our Act 101 requirements. The program is part of the Cumberland County Municipal Waste Management Plan, approved by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, and was approved on February 27, 2023. Termination of the program without DEP approval may place the county in violation of Section 1701 of the Municipal Waste Planning, Recycling, and Waste Reduction Act. Any cash and investment on hand, which are a direct result of contributions by each participating municipality towards program operation and purchase and maintenance of equipment, will need to be fully remitted to each contributing program participant in a timely manner. If ultimately it is the county's decision to end the program, and again, we implore you to continue this, we respectfully ask that it be continued to at least June 30th of 2025, provided that adequate insurance can be obtained. We feel it's fundamentally unfair to terminate a 30-year program with only a 30-day notice. In addition, the county commissioner's decision to end such a successful intergovernmental program in such an abrupt manner with no communication to the municipal advisory board is counterproductive to our longstanding principle of intermunicipal communication and cooperation on important matters affecting county residents and their local municipalities. If the commissioners do not change the decision and then to end this program, we ask that extending it to June 30th, 2025 will allow participating municipalities, including Hampton Township, to work together in an effort to meet our regulatory requirements and to facilitate a successful transfer of the equipment of all cash and investment due to each participating municipality. I've not interacted with all the municipalities here affected, but I was in contact here with Dean Blown, President of Lower Allen Township Board of Commissioners. He could not be with us today, but expresses his support for the continuation of the program. Kyle Miller, from the President of Mechanicsburg Borough Council, has expressed similar concerns as well. We appreciate your reconsideration for continuing this program. We ask that you work with us on obtaining insurance. And at the very least, we ask for a 12-month continuation until another entity, whether it's Hampton, East Pennsboro, Lower Allen, or one of these other municipalities with us here today, for a new authority or new intergovernmental agreement to be set up. But it will take time to do so in terms of bylaws, standard operating procedures, and such. Again, I ask for your consideration on this front. Jeremy, anything on this?
Commissioner, I appreciate the opportunity, Commissioners. I think there's not much I can add. I think the success of the program speaks for itself. I would like to reiterate a couple of things Supervisor Lanker indicated. Justin does an amazing job running the program. It is smooth as you could possibly think when you've got so many municipalities working together. And the risk is inherent in public works. Every day, everything we do, there's inherent risk. We do everything we can to mitigate those risks. The training the county provides and the regulations that we have in place to inspect what's being dropped off and the training required for the operators is another credit to county staff. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I have an official letter here stating our interest in continuing with the program, and if you don't mind,
Nope, please, thank you.
thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Mr. Tyson?
Thank you very much. I do want to reiterate the appreciation I have to be able to represent on behalf of East Pennsboro. So George Tyson, East Pennsboro Township, President of the Board. And I know we have a time limit and I want to be respectful of that. Just wanted to read a couple of things, and that was Nate with Hampton identified the number of users and the tonnage. I have a letter here that I'm going to leave as well. I'm not going to read everything, but I just do want to highlight 2023, more than 8,000 visitors, 15,500 cubic yards of material generated at the waste system. It's a significant number. I know our township manager was there meeting with our public works because we have a large pile and just trying to figure out how to, navigate through that. Many points have been already mentioned about the success of this program that's been successfully operating with the partnership of the county for over 30 years. And I believe East Pennsboro has been a part since its inception. You could confirm that, but I'm going back to when I knew I couldn't burn any debris in my yard anymore. And that sounds about the right time frame. And by the way, I did that in the winter when there's snow on the ground. I'd like to highlight the event that started the review of this program was the fire which originated from a failed turbo unit that powers this piece of equipment and was out of warranty. The failure also ignited a fire which included the wiring harness. I'm also informed that the ingestion of smoke and fire into the internals of the diesel engine also received, leading to escalated costs in repair of that. And I do not believe that it's totally completed the repair yet, so we don't have the exact cost on that. But I just wanted to highlight that because as through this process, I wasn't up to speed or informed on what the cause of the generation of the fire was. And so just getting information from various sources and being somewhat of a motorhead, I realized, oh, it's equipment failure. And thank goodness to the credit of Justin and the operators of the equipment, it wasn't something that was done that was negligence or something bad happened with the actual operation. It was equipment failure, which obviously nobody's happy with that, but that was the origination of it. I think that's important to consider, and that's the thing that brought this to the forefront. Although it was a significant event, it did not occur from misuse, abuse, or inadequate training from the operators. It was equipment failure. We're aware that upon review of the program that there may be many costs that have not been properly identified or captured to detail the costs of the program. As a participant in the program, we are certainly willing to discuss such costs and have them captured in potential increased fees to participate in the program.
Mr. Tyson, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Our live stream recording just went down, so I want to pause.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
I will refer them to IMTR till when our live stream goes back.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
So hold on just a minute. I want to make sure everybody at home can see what's going on.
I love technology.
You're in that business.
Exactly. Every day.
Search. Are we on?
We're good to go.
Good, okay.
All righty. Thank you. We're here ultimately seeking a way to, in some way, review, refine, and continue the program that's been functioning safely and well for over 30 years. At minimum, an extension of the program, while viable alternatives are identified, would be greatly appreciated to be considered. Obviously, when I first was brought up to speed about the alert that came from the insurance company, I inquired, how do we deal with other rental equipment stuff we get in the county or from within the township from other providers? So reached out to a township manager, got our insurance provider online or on the phone, and the conversation was pretty simple. My question to him was, is there insurance that can remove all liability from the county as well as the cost from the county? And is that coverage able to be provided to municipalities that are participating in the program that may not be a current client of yours? The answer without hesitation was yes and yes. So I followed up with, would you please provide the policy with the documentation that we could provide to the county? We've submitted that last week, so I think that's under review. The other thing, and this was brought to my attention yesterday, and I wish it had been brought earlier, although I did get a chance to read it, I'm going to leave it here as well. There was a Cumberland County Recycling and Waste Authority, like a review that was provided by SCS engineers from Reston, Virginia in November of 2020. And the reason I was so interested in when I saw this was there were many questions and comments that came up about the liability of the program, the safety of the program, the efficiency of the program, what county resources are being used that may not be totally documented, and how can the program be improved, and what things can be done to continue what at that time would have been about 25, 26 years worth of a successful run. It also has a follow-up survey in there regarding questions like, would the participants be willing to pay and pick up the tab on some of these other costs? Would they be interested in more training, documentation, et cetera, et cetera? It's all in here. And so I'm going to leave that as well. I just thought that was very interesting. And I think that was probably generated from obviously at the county, but it shows numbers in there on the amount of material, the amount of times the equipment has been there. So I wanted to leave that with you and thank you for the time.
Thank you.
All right.
Which one question? So you mentioned this insurance information being submitted. Does that submitted to?
I submitted. I did. The township manager submitted it, I believe, to Kurt Stone, and it's been forwarded on.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Rick Hoover from North Middleton Township. I'm a supervisor and also on the planning commission. This is actually my first year. I got kind of put here on short notice. I was asked yesterday to come and represent the township. Actually, I'm not representing the entire board because I'm representing myself. But and I don't want to be a broken record here, but a synopsis on this. First of all, thank you all for your service to the public. It's appreciated. Tough jobs. This is kind of a government service at its finest. 30 years of a program that's operated fantastically, I think, from what I know of it. And wow, why can't we fix it? You know, we're only looking at one insurance claim, right? Certainly there's other insurance companies out there that would be willing to write us some insurance for this program. It will be a big hardship on the townships to have to take this over, especially with such short notice. I think 30 days is way too short. Certainly concur with what the other gentleman has said here. I'd like to see a way that maybe we could fix this. You know, it's a great service. It does a lot for the community. There's an old saying about if it's not broken, don't fix it. I mean, insurance companies are tough. We know that. But there's a lot of them out there. So, you know, are there alternatives? Sounds like we're hearing that there are. You know, can we please maybe reconsider our situation here and keep doing something? It's really a great service for the community. And 30 years, that's a long time. It's a great track record. And just looking out for the public, you know, we're providing a great service. We've done it at a reasonable cost to the taxpayers, and let's not reinvent the wheel here if we don't have to. So that's it. Thank you very much.
I'm not going to sit down, but Zachary Zook, on behalf of Middlesex Township and the Board of Supervisors. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your service to the community. Again, we are in support of continuation of the program. We know it takes a lot of work to keep it going, but it is something that is valuable to the users of the program. Actually, I worked for North Middleton for several years prior to us actually building our compost site. We're probably one of the newest members, and we're probably the smallest as far as hourly users of the equipment. For us last year, it cost about $7,000 for the year for us to rent the equipment, which was really only 2 weeks that we used the equipment. This year, obviously, for us to purchase a large piece of equipment, these have significant price tags on them. So for us to purchase one would probably be out of the picture. To rent one is quite expensive. You're looking at, for us, going from $7,000, it'll probably be over $20,000, $20,000 to $24,000 to rent one for the same amount of time that would be using it. And again, prior to us actually building our compost site and entering into the program, we would go door to door and collect brush. And as far as a safety issue, I mean, we would actually stand behind a chipper that was drugged behind the truck, and you'd be out along the road, out along 34 or 74 with cars going around you while you're standing there chipping, and you're chipping all kinds of brush and thorns and whatever you can imagine you're putting through that chipper. So as far as safety, operating the compost site is by far safer, I believe. And it is definitely less time consuming. We would chip brush probably, Doug could probably admit to this too, probably we do it 4 times a year, probably a week or 2 at a time. And again, now the compost site's operating, we only grind for 2 weeks out of the entire year. So it's definitely time saving. We both operate smaller crews, smaller townships. So we're trying to do as much as we can with small staff, short staffs, and try to give as much of a service to our residents as we can. So again, thank you. And again, if we could support the program, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
I don't want to take up your time. Kevin Plaster, Shippensburg Borough Manager. I've been part of this program since day one. Dave and I and Justin formed a committee and we started it. Shippensburg Borough uses this 2 or 3 times a week a year. We have some other surrounding townships within Cumberland County that bring their stuff to our site. This program has worked well, and I would like to see it continue to work well with your help and your support. Thank you.
Can I say 1 or 2 things quick, Chair?
Quickly, please.
Okay, I'll make this quick. I think you've heard from most of the people here, and it should have been all of them. this is a case where government is doing it efficiently at a cost savings. I think we get a bad rap, even at the county and the local level, about inefficient state. The state of Pennsylvania is a local government. I think this is a case where we're showing that with a collaborative effort between the county and the municipal entities within Cumberland County, we're doing a program here efficiently at a cost saving. So I want that to be kept in mind. And that's something that you guys can, put on your resume, that historically you've done that at a cost savings to the residents of Cumberland County. So I just wanted to add that. I'm sure that you know it, but I just wanted to put that on the record as well. So, and again, I want to thank you. There's other municipalities that were on page with us that were unable to attend. So I wanted to make that also on record too. So with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. I was going to refrain from any comment on the board, but I do feel compelled to do so. There's been a lot of misinformation surrounding this program. And with all due respect, Mr. Lenker, I'm not worried about resume building. I'm worried about safety and liability. The information that has been spread, that we alerted the municipalities, I believe, immediately in April, when we started to experience that we could not get insurance for this program. We were able to extend the insurance to June 30, July 1, which we have done. This is not a cost-cutting measure by this board. This board voted unanimously to cease the program due to the issue of our inability to obtain liability insurance coverage whenever the machinery is outside the care, custody, and control of our purview. I understand there has been an insurance policy presented to us that was reviewed. I am not an attorney. I'm not an insurance individual. It is clear that the municipalities can obtain insurance to protect their interests and the machinery when it is in use by those municipalities. Where we fall short is in the ability for us to have liability coverage to protect the interests of the county in this relationship. I am not trying to minimize the difficulty that this poses to the municipalities, and the timeline is certainly less than ideal, and for that I apologize. We have been trying to look at a way to obtain liability coverage. It's, I believe, our board's responsibility to protect the assets of the county in total. And we cannot offer equipment that we cannot have liability coverage on. I don't doubt, and I know that the program has been well run. They have, Justin has done yeoman's work in this process. We are having a meeting today to continue to look at this to see if there is any hole in that insurance that I did not see. Our insurance providers have reached back out to us and said it does not provide us liability coverage. And I can appreciate your willingness to be here and be respectful. I know that Kirk Stoner is working to try and find a resolution for everybody and trying to participate in whatever way that the county can. We have heard your concerns. I will actually open it up to the board if I have not expressed their interests, as we all have different opinions on the board sometimes. Gary, go ahead.
I wouldn't say necessarily it's a different opinion. I also want to thank you for being here. I mean, I was a municipal official for a long time. I understand, I think, where you're coming from, but I think there's a couple of things that might be worth noting. And George, I think you alluded to the idea that studying additional ideas. I know at the Recycling Authority meeting the other night, Brian O'Neill and some others were still sort of in brainstorming mode on this. And I guess my greatest concern is that if we, unless we handle this correctly as a group, that we're going to close out those options to find some type of solution. So I have a suggestion for you. I've already expressed my hope that the program, rather than being divided up and parsed out to a few municipalities, which in my opinion will leave other municipalities out, it would be better to transfer as much of the program as possible intact to another entity. Commissioner Nieder's correct. The county commissioners are united that the liability is a non-starter for us. And I'll add the apologies as well regarding the time frame. We're often, as you are aware, often confined to a range of choices that is far from perfect. And that is an understatement when it comes to this options. Not a lot of time to have the luxury of transitioning to something, but I'm hopeful that we can resist the urge to maybe grab the first thing that comes in. Kirk and Justin have spoken to each of you about, let's go out and brainstorm ideas on how we can do this. I really hope that we can do something to keep the program intact. So just to underscore that, I hope we preserve enough time that you all can go back and put your heads together with your own folks, maybe with other folks, come up with something. But to me, one of the overriding goals would be to maintain the integrity of the program to the extent possible. So now, I've spoken to a number of you individually, you've called me, and I've mentioned a couple of times about a potential role for the Council of Governments. So the Council of Governments is essentially said they're not going to take it over, as I understand. Kirk, am I characterizing that correctly? That doesn't mean there can't be some role for them, but I would suggest that you implore your colleagues to let the council know, because they're a member-driven organization. They take their cues from you folks as members of that organization. They don't respond to us, I mean, other than cordially, but they're not going to make a decision. So I would say contact the COG yourself, contact their officers, not just their staff, because the staff's not looking for more stuff to do. But they do have a mandate to try to seek opportunities for intergovernmental cooperation. So I'd say the extent to which you can converse with them to demonstrate the level of municipal interest, that would be helpful. But to make this work, we have to essentially not grab the first offer that comes along, which could, in my opinion, my concern there is we're going to pit some municipalities against other municipalities. I mean, today it's you guys against us. That's just the nature of the political debate. So we understand that. But I don't want to see a perpetual situation in which you mentioned Mechanicsburg in particular. I'm a resident of Mechanicsburg. They're very concerned about being left out of a potential solution. And they're going to be harmed financially as a small borough by that. So I say that just to underscore the idea, the extent to which it could be kept intact. George, I mentioned to you yesterday, to me, the ideal solution would be if the Council of Governments could, at least even for 1 year, do a joint bid for the service that, for instance, that we understand Cleveland Brothers has done the chipping for Upper Allen. And there's some others who've talked about going out to a private vendor. That's going to be more expensive, but sharing that cost might provide some resolution. So there are options out there. I'll just wrap up. There are options out there. We just need to have time to come to an agreement on what those are. And my hope would be that we're not splitting up the program and then we're left with no other options. So we hear you. The entire board has heard you. The entire board is taking the responsibility here that the county residents and the county government can't be left with this big liability hole. So where we go from here is going to be as much up to you as it is to us. So that's all I have. Thanks.
So I would just add this. When this issue came to the board in April, and I was alarmed by what had happened with the equipment. And I was alarmed by the fact that we had been operating in this way for a long time. And if I have heard our county advisors correctly, there's ongoing issues with this particular piece of equipment, that it is dangerous, that it does break down when it's on site. But this is the most important piece that has been delivered to me, and I'm just going to read it to you. Our insurance company and other companies are not willing to insure the risk when this equipment is out of the county's care, custody, and control. That's it. I don't own an insurance company. I can't fix this. This board is united in finding some way to come to a conclusion that works, but none of us know what that conclusion is. And we do need your assistance with this. So our people were tasked with take this to the municipalities and brainstorm this, as Commissioner Eichelberger said. So I am telling you with peace and love, our insurance company and every other insurance company that we have reached out to, are not willing to insure the risk when out of the county's care, custody, and control. That's it. Even George, if what East Penn has suggested is in place, they won't do it. So I think it would be very wise to know that that's off the table. Now, I'm sure there's an insurance company out there somewhere that for super dollars may be willing. And I heard today from our municipalities, from some of you, well, we could chip in on that. So I think that as you sit down and talk about this, you've got to decide what your limit is. Right? What are you really willing to pay? What are you really willing to pay? I think that's very important at this point in time. But what I'm hearing, I mean, it's here in writing for me. Our insurance company and other companies are not willing to insure the risk when out of the county's care, custody, and control. Dave, you talked about possibly an employee arrangement, right? Where municipalities, did I hear that correctly?
You mean as far as employee arrangements for what?
As far as Justin would need.
Chipping in to pay for
Yeah.
Another.
Well, and that would be to just assist Justin, I don't think we're to the point, if the county was more progressive build out, I think you'd have enough municipalities where that would work. I don't think we're to that point.
He's talking about someone running the equipment. Now.
I'm talking to get Justin help for the other aspects of the solid waste with an administrative fund to assist the county in those costs. I think the cost savings work both ways to help each other out in this aspect.
So and I like that kind of out of the box thinking. So maybe that's something that we bring to the table, right? That is the, if you're going to come up with a plan and assist us with this, knowing what we know and knowing that we've been working on this since April, actually since before April, we were informed of this in April, right? Then we've got to think out of the box on it. And I don't know what insurance would cost if anyone would even do it, right? Because we're hearing no one will do it. Excuse me, no. So, and I do this, I'm sorry, I do this. I start this great debate and then it doesn't work out for public comment. I would be willing to sit down with you again and have this conversation, but I think the three of us need to be in the room for the conversation. So that we all have the facts, so that we understand exactly what you're saying and exactly what you believe. And you understand exactly what is happening on our end, because that clearly is missing today. I mean, that's what I've taken away from this, is that there's been either a miscommunication or a misconception somewhere in this. So I'm very willing to do that.
Thank you. Just for clarity's sake, before we move on, I will not continue to beat the dead horse, as someone said. We did check with 11 insurance carriers on our part. I believe, George, yours makes it 12. And we did also, just so that you are aware, we looked at modifying the contract that was not acceptable to any of those carriers. We looked at having an employee exclusively on site in your municipalities, and we still would not be able to obtain the necessary liability insurance. So on that note, we will move on, and unless there is anyone online seeking to further comment, we will close the public comment section of this meeting and move on to the business at hand. Gentlemen, you are welcome to stay or exit. It is entirely up to you.
We would like to thank you again for taking the 5 minutes of your time.
Thank you. All right. That will lead us to the consent agenda.
I'd ask that before we remove the consent agenda. So,
I'm sorry, Gary, you would like item 4?
yeah, the approval.
Okay, we can do that and approve that separately.
Okay, so the consent agenda is a list of items that are, seem to be routine, do not appear to be controversial in nature, and do not seem to require any additional discussion. If discussion is required on any of the agenda items number 4 through 16, now will be the time to make that request. Commissioner Eichelberger, I did hear you. We will move agenda item 4 out of the consent agenda if that is amenable to the board. But again, the consent agenda is agenda items 4 through 16.
So, Keith, if I remember correctly, to remove something from the consent agenda, you need a motion and a second.
I thought,
I thought we did it that way the last time, but I don't remember.
I don't believe we have. I thought that it could be asked to be removed by any member of the
Okay.
public and any of you individually, because it then becomes an item for discussion and
Okay.
open to the public as well.
Okay.
Does that then become the first item on the regular agenda?
Yes.
Okay. So I will then, we will take the approval of the minutes. Yes. 17A. Approval of minutes from June 6th, 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting. Anyone would
We
like?
have to do the consent
Yeah.
agenda.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
it's
sorry.
agenda
Oh, I'm
first.
sorry.
And I am gonna go back to this because I'm certain that there was a point in time where Commissioner Eichelberger asked for something else to remove from the consent agenda, and it failed because there was not a motion.
I don't recall that. I do know in the instructions that have appeared in your agenda from the beginning of the time that you started a consent agenda, any member of the public or any board member may make that
Can I
request.
ask for it to be removed?
Right.
Okay.
And then solicitor, just for a note, it remains agenda item number 4,
It
correct?
does. You're
Yes.
going to do a motion to approve the consent agenda
Okay.
with the exception of item 4.
Someone make that motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 So commissioners, that then takes us to the regular agenda, but prior to addressing the regular agenda, agenda item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the June 6, 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting, remains to be discussed.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the June 6th, 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting? So moved. Is there a second? I'll second. So moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye.
No,
Gary is opposed. On into the regular agenda.
All right, so that then takes us to the regular agenda, which is a list of non-routine items to be discussed, and they may be acted upon individually. And we'll start with agenda item number 17. I'll call on Claudia Garner to discuss the credit application with Whitner Public Safety Group for public safety. Good morning, Claudia.
Morning, everybody. Public safety is requesting your approval for a credit application for Whitmer Public Safety Group. Excuse me. Whitmer Public Safety is a parent company of the fire store and the officer store. Our department and the sheriff's office at a minimum both purchase from each of these entities quite frequently. Whitmer is working to set up accounts properly so that the county appears as a parent account, and then each department within the county shows up as a child account. They have already completed this particular credit application form for 2 of the other departments in the county. And the reason that this one's coming to you today for your approval is it's requiring your signature on page 2, which lists their terms and conditions. Just for perspective, though, in most cases, what the county purchases from Whitmer is covered under CoStars and therefore references back to those terms and conditions outlined under that agreement. But unless there's any questions, we ask for your motion to approve the credit application for Whitmer Public Safety Group.
Thank you, Claudia. I don't have any questions. Are there any questions from the board? It's not a shop that I shop in. So, entertain a motion. So moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Claudia. And that takes us to agenda item 18, which is the start of contracts. And I'll turn the meeting over to Angela Smyser to cover.
Thank you, Stacy. Good morning, everybody. Moving on to agenda item 18, I will call on Jamie Reiber to discuss the contracts for children and youth services. Good morning, Jamie.
Morning. These are all contracts for the 24-25 fiscal year with the exception of one, and I'll make that clear when I get there. The first one is for alternative behavioral consultants. They provide our parenting assessments and training, as well as visitation services. They are requesting increases between 2.56% and 5.26% due to the additional staff training for the increased risks and needs of our families that we work with, technology advancements, as well as staff benefits and retention. Second contract is for City Mission Livingstones Incorporated. They provide group home placement services. They are increasing their rate from $259 a day to $281 a day. And they increase their transportation rate to the prevailing mileage rate, which increased that 2.29%. The increase is to support additional staff to provide additional care for their residents, technology enhancements, adding an additional vehicle with their independent living program, and the overall cost for caring for the youth, such as food, supplies, clothing, and transportation. The next one is Common Sense Adoption Services. They provide foster care services for children in placement. They are increasing their rates from 5.6% to 8.24% across their levels of care. And they are providing an increase directly to the foster parents who are giving the daily care to the children, knowing that the cost of caring for a child is significantly increasing. The next one is Drug and Alcohol Rehabilitation Services. They are group home placement services. They have supervised independent living program that increased 9.2%, and their drug and alcohol treatment is increasing 19.36%. However, we only would pay this rate for a very short period of time, if at all, because that particular program is funded by the child's insurance. They are seeing significant increases in their employee wages and benefits, as well as the cost of caring for the youth in their placements for things such as food, clothing, and transportation. The next one is George Junior Republic in Pennsylvania. They provide residential services, which is a little bit more intensive than our group home services. They are asking for increases of 7% across the board to all of their programs. And they also added a secure detention program for 24-25 fiscal year. They are certified as a specialized setting in Pennsylvania, which requires ongoing enhancements to their programs and facilities, as well as extensive training for their staff. They've also fully integrated into a new electronic health record to support their staff and ensure quality services. And they are working on, excuse me, a program focusing on the extensive services that are needed by our complex youth with multiple diagnoses and behavioral concerns. The next one is Haven Adoptions Incorporated. This is for 23-24 fiscal year. It is a new program that we are going to contract with. They provide foster care services. We actually had a child that was matched with a statewide adoption network with a family that is foster parents through this provider. So we are contracting with them so that we are able to place the child in their foster home. The next one is Hempfield Behavioral Health. They do in-home psychological and counseling services. Their rate for MST, multi-systemic therapy, is increasing 4%. This rate is actually set by the State Behavioral Health Office, and we would also just pay this for a short period of time until the insurance would pick up and cover the costs. Next one is Hoffman Homes. They provide residential and transitional living services. They did not increase their per diems for the 24-25 fiscal year. However, they did add an additional transitional living program that we are adding to their contract. The next one is Kids Peace National Centers. They provide foster care, residential, and shelter care services. They also do not have any increases to their rates for this fiscal year or 24-25 fiscal year. However, they did redo their rate structure and they separated they had their residential and diagnostic together in the past, and they have those separated out now. So it's 2 different levels. Next one is PA Child Corporation. They also provide foster care services. They are requesting a 3% increase to all of their rates to support their overall operating costs and efforts to recruit and retain quality staff. Next one is Preventative Aftercare Incorporated. They are an in-home service that is provided through George Junior Republic. They are increasing their programs 5% through family preservation and prison visitation, again, citing overall operating costs. And the last one is TRAC, Three Rivers Adoption Council Services for Families. They also provide foster care service. And this is also another situation where we had a youth that was matched with a family that is foster parents through this agency. And so in anticipation of her going to that home here in the coming weeks, we want to get a contract in place for the 24-25 fiscal year. I also just wanted to note, I think you probably realize this by now, but most of these per diems also are only funded between 10% and 50%, depending on the level of care by the county. The rest is all funded by state and federal dollars.
Thank you for that clarification, Jamie. Are there any questions?
I don't have any question. I don't have a question, but I think it's so important, as Jamie went through this, for everyone to understand, for the public to understand, that the cost of care is going up. It's gone up dramatically in these contracts. And that is even though the state pays a percentage of this, the county pays a percentage of it. The county taxpayer pays a percentage of it. It's important for the public to know that costs are going up. And this is not care, Jamie, that we can be like, oh, well, sorry, kid. Right?
Yes, unfortunately, we don't have an option to just say, no, never mind, we can't do that.
Right, they're services, they're mandated services, they're things that have to be provided, and the cost is going up dramatically. That's all.
Yeah, Commissioner, I echo those sentiments. I was taking notes anywhere from 2.5% to over roughly 8.5% increases on virtually every contract, and we have to have so many contracts because of such a great need. And just the availability of service, as you mentioned, staffing at these agencies is very challenged. So that creates challenges for us to have availability of services for the children that need it. So thank you for your time walking us through those. We'll entertain a motion to approve contracts as presented. I'll second. It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. 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 Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Moving on to agenda item 19, I will call on Bethany Salzarulo to discuss the grant application for elections. Good morning, Bethany.
Good morning. Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
This is a state grant that they're offering all the counties. Our portion would be $9,000. Of course, I don't have it in front of me. I just took the paper away. Thank you. $9,125.15. This can be used from anything from voting equipment, voter registration systems, physical security, cybersecurity, paying the employees that help us on election day. So we certainly will find all sorts of good ways to spend it. So I just am asking for your approval today to apply for that.
Thank you. Any questions for Bethany?
So the county has a burden on this of $9,125.15.
No, they're giving us that money. I'm sorry. They're giving us
Okay.
9,000. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
sorry.
you. Any other questions? Well, if not, we'll entertain a motion. I will move to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. 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 Thank you.
Thank you, Bethany. Moving on to agenda item 20, I will call on Kirk Stoner to discuss the contract for liquid fuels finance.
Good morning, Commissioners. This contract for $69,000 for HRG to do engineering and construction engineering for a bridge maintenance contract. Every 2 years, we do maintenance on our bridges that are results from our annual inspections we have to do with bridges. In this case, we have 15 projects that we need, 15 bridges that we have maintenance done on them. We'd like to let it this fall and have it completed by the end of the year.
Any questions for Kirk?
None for me. Entertain motion.
So
A second. It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. 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 Thank you.
Thank you, Kirk. Moving on to agenda item 21, I will call on Sue Carpal to discuss the contracts for MHIDD. Only a few for you today, Sue.
Morning. Yes, I see that. So the first contract is for early intervention. It's a new contract for fiscal year 24-25. It's for UPMC Pinnacle Hospitals, their infant development program. The contract will be for $180,425. The second contract is Potentiality Therapy Services, LLC. It also is a new contract for fiscal year 24-25. And we will start that contract at $4,000. So I will just repeat that these are state-funded contracts. And we start the contract at where they ended up this fiscal year, and we will come back when we need to amend the contracts.
Any questions for Sue?
None for me. Anyone else?
I have no questions. I'll move for the approval. So
A second. It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item 22, I will call on Justin Miller to discuss the grant application for recycling and waste. Hi, Justin.
This is the annual Act 101 Section 904 Recycling Performance Grant application. It's for tons recycled within a previous calendar year, primarily geared towards municipalities. They get a reward for residential commercial tons, eligible Act 101 tons. Sometimes, and I help them get the data to fill those out. Sometimes we get data strictly at the county level. I use that to apply for county application. That's truly a bonus in my opinion. If I have their formula determined correctly, I'm estimating we get $13,605.60.
Any questions for Justin?
Justin, you're the man of the hour. Sorry. Thank you. I'll move to approve. Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Justin. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Stacey.
Thank you, Angela. And that takes us to agenda item 23. I'll call on Eric Radovich to discuss the capital project request for the district attorney FID.
Good morning, Commissioners. The capital project before you is for Celebrate Premium. It is a tool that we use in the forensic laboratory. It's an upgrade to what we have now. The total cost of $185,000 is a breakdown over 5 years. You can see it on your sheet how it's broken down year by year. And it's the number one or number two tool that we use in the forensic lab for cracking phones. Typically, these are phones and tablets used in typically in drug cases and child porn cases. And this is one of the tools that we use to crack mostly Android devices.
So Eric, just a question for you. We currently use a company, they provide services to us. So this is not an additional 185,000, correct?
That is correct. It's an upgrade. It's an upgrade to what we already have.
And do you have on the top of your head like what we're paying annually now?
I don't remember what it is now for the amount that we pay now. I think we pay a flat fee for what they call the UFED, which is the smaller version. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what it is per year.
Okay, sorry to put you on the spot.
I'm sorry, I apologize, I didn't have that.
So it's as I understand it, Eric, it's a pretty significant upgrade, and I'm just wondering if if any of this would be eligible, because this is somewhat of a new product, to receive funding from the Records and Improvement program. And I don't know if Sean's on the line or not. Okay. I don't have an issue with this, but I would like for us to consider if we can, if there's any way to get some funding from that, at least look into that, please.
I always look for funding everywhere. I do look for, for grants and for funding on every project that I look for. So I have, but I will continue to do so.
So do we have a bit of answer that Records Improvement is not a potential source for this?
I can't answer that. I do not know.
Would it be worth tabling this until we can get an inquiry for such a large amount?
Yeah, it's 35,000 a year. So the overall cost is, the 185,000 over the 5-year period. It's my understanding that I think your current program is not nearly as robust and I believe not as expensive. I had asked for what the cost was, and I don't want to misspeak, but I thought it was around $10,000, but I could very well be off base with that. So I'm fine personally to proceed to make the commitment, but if we can obtain funding from the Records Improvement, it certainly would improve the overall outlay.
Eric, I'm willing to move forward today. Also, this is a child porn buster, right? Yeah, that's a big.
It cracks phones. I mentioned that because the number one and number two things we crack phones for are generally child porn and narcotics cases.
I would like to know, but following up, I would like to confirm what the current cost is, and it seems like there might be a PCCD grant out there, but I haven't looked. So
yeah, there's nothing currently available from PCCD to fund this. I mean, it's the first place I look, and there's nothing available at this time.
Okay, but I'm forward. I think it's an important piece of keeping.
Eric, one other question I will say, I know some of the services that you provide from your lab, you get reimbursed payment from if it's the state police. Is providing this data really for internal use only, or could we also charge when we supply this to others?
We do that now, and we do bill defendants in county, and then when they're out of county agencies, we actually bill the agency that submitted it. So if it's a different district attorney's office or PSP or whatever, we actually bill them directly.
So I guess, thank you. This comes back to the issue that I had raised regarding these forms and really what's the actual cost? Because if we're getting some reimbursement and and we also would pay a certain level of this anyway, that's on our end, Eric, to do a little bit better in getting information. So thank you.
I imagine some of that data is not attainable until after the fact. So. But what we could do is look at past history. Do you have any idea, Eric, off the top of your head, of a percentage that may come back as a result of those?
We don't do it. We have not done a lot of, in this particular forensic discipline, the computer forensic lab. We've not done a lot of outside work because it's one of the disciplines that's slower getting off the ground. We had an examiner, and that examiner left, and we just hired a new one. So we haven't really gone for a lot of outside county work, as we're doing more as in the drug lab and the tox lab. So we don't. I can't show a lot of record of success up until this point. We do some work, not a lot, but I want to do more once we get a stable examiner and get somebody working full time all the time. I want to be able to do more work for outside agencies.
So having said that, Eric, thank you. And now if you could possibly track that it's sometimes it's good onset to lay the groundwork for tracking. So that would
Absolutely.
be that going forward.
Absolutely, I'm happy to do so.
Very good. Is there any other questions of Eric? Entertain a motion.
So I will move to approve.
Gary?
You good?
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
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 No.
Gary is opposed.
Okay, thank you, Eric, and we'll
Thank you,
be in
Commissioner.
touch to discuss records improvement fund and all of that with you, okay?
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so that takes us then to agenda item number 24, which is Commissioner's liaison reports, and Commissioner Nieder, I'll start with you.
Yes. So I always start off with the events that we attended over the last, since our last meeting, and all three of us met with representatives from Silver Spring Township, where they provided a very nice update to what was happening in their world. And I attended a Comcast meeting on broadband that Kirk Stoner organized. It seems like the time horizon for that is at least 18 months from the basis of that, and while they await some approvals from the state. I attended the Greater Harrisburg Association of Realtors Municipal Officials Breakfast, which was very well done, and I enjoyed immensely. Gary and I toured the Pfeiffer Arboretum, and we were graciously hosted by David Pfeiffer, and I extend my thanks to David for taking time to show us around. I attended the Historic Preservation Workshop at the New Cumberland Library along with Commissioner Fauci. It was an event put on by the Planning Department, the Historical Museum Commission, Shippensburg University, and DCNR. We held two department information meetings. We have really cranked through. We are down to just a few areas remaining, and I think they've been tremendously valuable. And we've had some really great conversations, and I think found some improvements to process and ways for folks to possibly save money, which is always good. Commissioner Fauci and I spent several hours observing various court proceedings along with the court administrator. So I would like to extend a thank you to Melissa for her time. It was a fascinating time spent. Commissioner Fauci and I also attended the United Way of Carlisle's de Tocqueville event, where the humanitarian award was presented to Ann Hoffer. And Ann Hoffer, you may know, is the wife of deceased Judge Hoffer, who has a long and storied history in Cumberland County. And it was quite lively and amusing. She's quite a pistol. So
she has a good sense of humor. A really good sense of humor.
She does.
I would add to that. I thought it was so nice to see so many representatives of the judiciary there, of the bench there. Yeah. You know, Judge John Jones, president of Dickinson, is there. In the room, we have our own Judge Matchland, our own President Judge Guido, our own Judge Brubaker. I mean, it really speaks so much.
Judge Hess was
there. Judge Hess was there, yes. It really says so much about Cumberland County, the history of Cumberland County, the importance of the United Way, and Ann Hoffer.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you. Last but not least, I did attend the redevelopment meeting for, in your absence, Commissioner Fauci, of the land bank, but unfortunately there was no quorum, so the meeting was not held on the issues that were at hand. Although we had discussions of other issues related to the redevelopment authority. I was at the Ag Board, and Stephanie provided an update on the ag preservation programs, indicating that the farm in East Pennsboro is close to settling, and that is the last remaining farm in East Pennsboro Township. So last remaining operating farm. So we're looking forward to that. From the 2024 allocation, a 59-acre farm in Lower Frankfort Township has withdrawn their application. Stephanie's is waiting to see if that will allow us to move deeper on the list, but they've had one one farm come back with the appraisal that was, that has been accepted into the program. And they had a variance of, they had 10 more acres than anticipated on the application. So we're just trying to match the money. The board approved a rural enterprise request for the Martin Farm in Shippensburg. And Laura Brown from Silver Spring Township provided just an excellent update on their land preservation efforts. They passed an earned income tax of 0.1%, and it generates approximately $900,000 annually for them to purchase farmland, meadows, woods, parks, and easements. Stephanie makes every attempt to work with Silver Spring Township to secure some of those farms. And Laura reported that my comment to Laura was, is there still land in Silver Spring Township to be preserved? And apparently she found there are over 6,000 acres of farmland woodlands that can actually be preserved, of which 24 properties would be eligible for our program, which would amount to about 2,520 acres. So stay tuned. I thought they were being built out. I attended the planning department meeting early this morning already, and where we approved an ASA, the board approved, I apologize, approved the ASA addition for a parcel in Dickinson Township, but the board was sensitive. There was some outcry from the community, so it was approved with a stipulation to acknowledge the citizens' concerns for FPR applications on the site. Kirk reviewed the 2023 annual report. It is a requirement, and it is available online, as are all the meeting minutes from the Planning Commission, which he believes there is a whole lot of great data, as do I, available in addition to the annual report. Kirk also reported that there is I don't want to say final, but almost final draft of the comprehensive plan that he is weeding through and hopefully be done and presented back to that board by July. I believe that is it then for the planning meeting and for my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner.
Okay, so last week, June 13th to the 15th, not only did I attend the CCAP Center for Excellence in County Leadership, but so did our own Holly Sherman, and I promise you, Vegas rules are applying to this. But we spent 4 hours on the first day on strategic planning, and the message that came through loud and clear was that when a county does strategic planning, everyone needs to be at the table, absolutely everyone. Including our MDJs. Everyone needs to be at the table for that strategic planning. One of the things that they said to us was, what is your county's mission, vision, and values? You should just be able to rattle it off. I don't know, right? I visit that once a year and I have not memorized it, right? So that's an issue. But we talked about, our strategic plan is from 2008, and I know that Stacy and team have done a lot of work to update it, but it really is time for a revamp of a strategic plan, and hopefully we can get into that in the next 2 years, and even more hopefully there's some funding to allow us to do that, and we do it with a facilitator, not on our own, because the facilitator really helps tremendously and keeps control of the group. So that was great. That whole experience, it was terrific. It was fabulous. The Western Cog, they met on June 10th, lots of mowing, lots of gravel and dirt road work, lots of road patching. There's a tremendous amount going on there. They talked about, Representative Gleim came in, her rep came in, talked again about that FPR bill. I know that we've seen that bill and it is not as robust as what we would like it to be. I think that that's very important for the public to know as that moves forward. Conservation District still has rain barrels for sale, and I will remind you that they've made them themselves, so $75. The rush is on. In the library system, they had an excellent, they met June 17th. They had an excellent audit presentation. SEK came in, they had an excellent audit. if you need something to do during the summer, every one of our member libraries, there's just so much going on in those libraries for children, for adults. There are those Go Cumberland hikes going on in Shippensburg on Saturday. Coy Library is doing their duck derby at the bridge. It's so many fantastic things. I could not even begin to tell you all of them. But this is the very important thing from the library, and they have been very clear with us on this. They are decreasing their fund balance. Their expenses are outpacing their revenues, and I know that they will be here to talk with us about that. So I think Kelly did an excellent job of hitting all of the things that we've done. June 14th, I attended the naturalization ceremony, and Samantha and team were there for some great photos, but what a great experience watching new US citizens being sworn in. It was really great. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Eichelberger.
Okay, and some, the Aging Advisory Board meeting is canceled for this, which would have been Friday. I did send a note over to Amy Huff asking for an update on any of the things from the last 2 weeks that may be transpired. I believe she's out of the office right now, waiting for response. If I get anything on that, I forward it through email. So everybody's up to speed on that. On MHIDD, a number of things going on. I'll just touch base on the advisory board is this afternoon. I'm going to be there. Well, I'm going to be probably Zooming, but I think they do have on site. So maybe I'll be there. There are a number of issues that are on the report that are going to be discussed, include a newfound concern regarding licensing of some of our contracted providers. A number of the providers, as you know, have been stressed in recent years with staffing, and that's now starting to have a trickle-down effect as well on their qualification for licensing. I think it's pretty clear we can't afford to lose too many of these providers. So this is a new challenge. Not hitting the panic button on it yet, but it is something that I believe is going to be on our radar more. Program staff is already convened meetings and working with the providers to essentially help them overcome any operational deficiencies and provide any level of support necessary. That's been an ongoing practice, essentially triaging the problems of providers. So there's a serious provider crisis out there that's part and parcel of our challenges on the mental health side. Back to some of our other things. CIT training continues its partnership with the law enforcement officers, hosting the 40-hour crisis intervention CIT training so that our law enforcement officers have a better handle on how to handle situations that may not be conventional in their background training. So feeling is that we can avoid a lot of follow-on problems if individual situations are handled in a more appropriate manner, but that training needs to be provided, and we've been working on that for a number of years now. So right now they're undergoing a bit of a mini review to strengthen the program. Staff's renewing the CIT coordinator certifications through CIT International, so to make sure that the program is as good as it can possibly be. Of course, first and foremost is the state budget, but I think everybody's been cognizant of that. So that continues to be a significant issue for us, for CCAP, working on trying to get additional funding allocated, particularly the base funding. So there have been a number of outreach events and attention events, which all of us up here are made aware of on a regular basis. So the human services development plan that we're required to participate in, June 14th is when we received information regarding the next development cycle for the human service development plan. So those plans are going to be due from all of our human services offices at DHS on August 12th. So this is the comprehensive annual plan, and will require, of course, public hearings and commissioner approval prior to that August 12th. So that'll be on our radar now. We'll start hearing more from our department heads regarding what's in development for that. So let's see, the Regional Crisis Walk-In Center, not really much update on that just yet. They're continuing the construction and build out of that facility, but there are a lot of behind the scenes types of activities that are necessary and proceeding right now, including meetings among the county's 911 staff, 988 staff, and some other community partners, including Penn State, Spirit Crisis, and Dauphin County Crisis. There's meetings with the chiefs of police. There's both in Cumberland and in Dauphin County, and a number of other things that are taking place to make sure that is given every chance to succeed once the doors are ready to open, which will still be in Q4 of this year. So the regional long-term facility process rolls on. The RFP was issued May 29. Proposals should be back on July 22. That's for the facility that we're doing in cooperation with Franklin County. The suicide prevention continues in June. 16 additional individuals trained, 101 individuals to date so far this year. That's the question, persuade, refer, anti-suicide messaging that we're trying to roll out to as many folks as possible. There's no crisis data available yet this month. And I think that's going to conclude the MH side. Real quick on recycling. Judd, feel free to add or cut me off on anything. But as you might guess, the bulk of time was spent on the yard waste discussion, and there's still considerable, as we saw today, there's interest in the issue. There were still a lot of ideas flying around the table. I think there's a great deal of interest in finding some type of resolution. There's some new things. Obviously, that process is going to continue to roll. Judd, I think I asked you, or maybe I forgot to ask you about the update on the event last weekend, the household hazardous. Yeah,
we had 322 customers drop off 29,405 pounds.
Okay,
very smooth event. Kirk was there.
That's why it was a smooth event, right?
That's right. Yeah. See, I normally say I'm going to bank.
There you go. Yeah.
Somehow I'm going for 6 hours.
That's just to pick up the pizza.
But no, I was had one customer had some really bizarre stuff. Matter of fact, the contractor couldn't take all of it, and I felt bad, but he just couldn't.
And we just turned that back to him.
Yeah, because it was the laws are interesting, in my opinion. In his hands, it's not regulated. Once we take possession of it, it becomes regulated.
Yeah.
So,
but it certainly qualifies as hazardous material. Maybe in the state does, but
not in the homeowner's hands.
Right.
It's interesting. It still has the same characteristics, but he had some radioactive material, some sign. We were able to take the sign. Other than that, it was a great event.
We may want to have some type of liaison with, say, the college labs and such, which have to provide for disposal of a lot of materials that we may not normally encounter.
Our contractor may have. They pulled him aside and went through his stuff one by one.
Yeah.
And I went back over to help with other stuff. So they may have given him some advice, but
okay.
We just couldn't take it at our event.
Yeah. All right. Well, we certainly want to leave people with options when we can too. So the only other thing, of course, was I won't say the only other thing, but the recycling, electronic recycling. Of course, you guys are still engaged in conversation with the vendor that's doing the Goodwill initiative. So that's going to continue. I'm not planning on saying much about that, even though I see it's in the draft minutes.
The board tabled it.
Yeah. It is worth noting that, if they're doing this, it does pose significant challenges to the county-based program. And I will note this since it was in the minutes, but the material gathered at our electronic site has fallen considerably, and it's probably attributable to a free alternative. It's free for now. So certainly that is going to impact the economics of our program. And I have every confidence you guys are going to watch this carefully, and you're very cognizant of all of those facts. Just keep us in the loop of those developments. I'll be asking about occasion. The others may be asking on occasion. Is there anything other on that issue that you wanted to think the commissioners need to do? Okay. The only other question I got here is there any progress, movement, development in regards to the building proposal? Nothing to
We're
report.
still waiting on
Okay.
the engineer architect.
Okay, that's all. I just want to make sure that we're understood. So, that's all I really have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. So that takes us to agenda item 25, and I'd like to report that an executive session was held on June 13, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. regarding personnel. And moving on then to agenda item 26, which is other business. I'll ask if there's any other business to come before the board today.
I have one item. I feel a need to respond to some things that occurred in the last meeting. I don't intend to perpetuate the circus, but I'm simply going to have staff attach my response to the meeting minutes. So it's part of the record if I could. So, that's all.
Is there any other business to come before the board today? Hearing none, seeing none, we are adjourned.
I'm hard stopping at 11:20 today. I have a noon